reflect the riding in mass. I'm an immigrant, actually a refugee. My mother is 100 years old. I've been involved in law enforcement for almost 40 years. Those three things define the riding: the need for elder care, the need for helping new Canadians, and the need for law, order, peace, and security on the streets of Scarborough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Let's go next to the n.d.p's Laura Castle.
I'm Laura Castle. I'm proud to represent the n.d.p.
Can we turn it up a bit?
Scarborough Guildwood is home to me. My family has lived here for 3 generations. In fact, my grandfather was a local active member coaching the Guildwood football team. My parents were raised there. I was raised and born there as well, living in a single-parent, low-income family home. I worked from a young age, put myself through school, and many of my first jobs were in Scarborough Guildwood, working at the local YMCA, the Toronto Zoo, babysitting families, and also working at the Morningside Library. I spent the last 7 years working in public relations and building a career, working with some top organizations in fields including healthcare, finance, technology, as well as some really important Canadian nonprofits. My business background reinforces my belief that balancing the books does not have to come at the cost of the most vulnerable in society. I'm running in this election because I care deeply about this community and this country, and I look forward to discussing Tom Mulcair's concrete plan to move this country forward.
Thank you. Let's go next to the Liberals' John McKay.
Thank you, Francis. Hello, everyone. My name is John McKay. I'm the incumbent MP and Liberal candidate for Scarborough Guildwood. I've lived in Scarborough all of my life.
Do you want to take a video or just
a video?
Okay, sure.
Avenue. I went to local schools such as Laurier, Westhill, Heron Park, etc., and ultimately graduated from UTSC, and then I went on to Queen's Law School and practiced law for 22 years. For the last 18 years, I've had the great honor of being the MP for Scarborough Guildwood, and in that capacity have fulfilled a number of roles. The current role for me in the Liberal Party is as an environment critic. Prior to that, I was the defense critic. Prior to that, I was the chair of the Government Operations Committee. Prior to that, I was the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance, and prior to that, Vice Chairman of the Justice Committee. I'm married. I have 5 children. I have 3 grandchildren and a newly minted son-in-law. So thank you for the opportunity to participate in the debate. I look forward to our conversation.
Okay, thank you. Let's go next to the Green Party and Kathleen Gould.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Gould. I'm running for the Green Party as I love my neighborhood as it consists of a lot of green. Go figure, green. I care about the seniors and the nursing homes, everybody in the community. I talk to about their issues all the time, and I just need a voice to be able to help them. I fumbled.
That's okay.
I fumbled.
That's okay. Go on.
Okay, that's okay. I missed out on what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm talking about me, and I'm looking at these notes. And I have to, I was a top fundraiser in Scarborough for multiple sclerosis. I have so many people who care about the environment and what is happening to it, and I just felt that I need to get involved and protect the Canada that I know and love. My family is now deceased as they all fought in World War I and II. So I am concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go next to our independent candidate, Kevin Clarke.
Thank you, Francis, and I thank you, Jan McKay, for preparing this writing so I can fix what needs to be fixed.
Some of it, yeah.
Voters of Scarborough Guildwood, I am your dream. I am a politician's worst
They just take videos and
I am the
it
candidate
won't take one
you will
consistent
vote
video,
for
it'll
for
just,
so
it's not
long.
like a video
I
from
am
the
liberal,
pauses, it just takes
conservative,
multiple
New
videos.
Democrat
Well, if
that
you're
goes
here,
further. I am
when
also
Kathleen
there for
has,
the immigrants, refugees,
you
non-voters
hold it
alike.
from-
That is
Yeah.
why I am
thank you.
independent. I independently serve all,
Just 'cause
not
I
just
like-
liberals,
Yeah.
conservatives, and New Democrat. And my friends, that is the reason you must vote Kevin Clarke. Also, yes, the liberals, conservative, and New Democrat values are needed. Yes, we must not ignore or neglect the needs of humanity. Those less fortunate. We have poverty, police abuse of authority, political abuse of authority, and violation of our legal rights and our charter of rights day by day. In Scarborough, Guildwood, vote Kevin Clarke. In Sudbury, vote John Raymond audet. He is with the people.
Thank
All
you.
with us.
Thank you, Kevin. And I want to let you know that we invited the 2 other registered candidates in this riding, Michael Busney, from the Libertarian Party, and Paul Kulbach from the Marijuana Party. They did decline. So now let's begin our question and answer period of the debate. So each candidate will be given 30 seconds to respond, followed by discussion. So are we ready for our first question? So it is this. Scarborough Guildwood encompasses both affluent neighborhoods and those designated at risk. What do you see as the priorities for this riding in terms of safety and security? As MP, would you advocate for a tougher approach to criminal justice? And Chuck, let's begin with you.
I obviously speak with some degree of experience in this matter. I have been a police officer for quite some time. I have seen the nature and quality of crime caused in the neighborhoods increase, notwithstanding statistics that say that crime is diminishing. Our riding has pockets of extreme violence, and I think the people I've spoken to are concerned. And they're concerned because many the individuals feel that the courts are not meeting our proper punishments.
Okay, I'll hold you there. That is your 30 seconds. We'll be able to discuss more when we get to the open discussion here. Laura, you're next.
Thank you. The n.d.p's approach has always been to look at the root causes of crime, and often these causes relate back to poverty and lack of opportunity, which clearly Scarborough Guildwood needs to improve on. It has one of the highest poverty rates across the city, 6% higher than the average national rate, the Toronto City rate. So we want to look at opportunities to provide for youth, to increase household incomes, to also, Tom Mulcair announced an initiative for youth specifically in sports as well. So
that is your time.
Thank you.
John.
I think it needs to be stated up front that Scarborough is one of the safest communities in Toronto and in the GTA. Scarborough bears a bad rep. It's not as if there aren't individual pockets where there's problems. Second, I'm a big fan of community policing. We have a really good 43 division, with which I've had a good working relationship. The third thing is, a few years ago, I was on the Justice Committee when we passed the anti-gaming legislation, and that has, in some measure, cleaned up some of the more egregious aspects of criminality.
Thank you. Let's go next to Kathleen.
Can I pause for a second and ask you a question?
Well, you know what? This is your 30 seconds to answer, and then we'll be able to ask you.
Okay, what was the question again?
So the question is about, as an MP, would you advocate for a tougher approach to criminal justice?
Absolutely, I would. In Guildwood, Scarborough, as the high school, the kids are causing fights unnecessarily and causing a lot of problems, so I think that we need to get some undercover police to just take care of my neighborhood, Guildwood, Scarborough.
Okay. Thank you. Kevin, your 30 seconds.
You know, just like the last debate, I thank the n.d.p for finally coming around for what I've been preaching for years, that we must combat poverty and must create youth employment strategy. And I thank the Liberal John McKay for speaking about the issue of gangs. And it's time to stop the gangware of the Liberals, the gangs of the Conservative, and the New Democratic gangs. Because in Canada, the party politics is no longer more than just a bunch of gangs. Liberal, Conservative,
okay, and that's
New
your 30
Democrats.
seconds. But let's talk about the issues that are in your community. That the discussion is open.
Frankly, when people say that poor people are criminals, I find that offensive. So poverty and crime do not necessarily correlate. What does happen is criminals are criminals. Be they white collar or poor, criminals are criminals.
I don't agree with that.
That's, please,
Well,
You may not agree with me, but the facts bear
The
it out.
fact speaks for itself. If people are brought in through immigration, they don't have opportunity to get employment, and if somebody else has to sponsor them and our government does not support them or give them education or opportunity, if they're in an environment of crime, they're going to end up in crime. We must change the environment, and that's where our liberal has not done
I
anything
don't
about the
disagree with your
environment.
need. Look, there's a multifaceted program that exists in the criminal justice system, but also the social system, that should be looked at. And I do agree with my n.d.p counterpart in that regard, but I also reinforce the fact there are hardcore criminals that we have to deal with.
But
I'm so sorry to
but
tell you, Mr.
hardcore
Clarke,
criminals-
Hold on,
they do
Kevin, let's
exist.
let Jack finish.
They do exist in our riding. We have very serious pockets of crime, and the people watching this program will admit to that. They don't like it. I knock on doors in the apartment buildings, and decent people are afraid.
They
Do
are
not
afraid.
dismiss that fact.
But they are afraid because the environment has been left there for too long. For 18 years, that environment of crime has been there. From the Galloway boys to the Danzig shooting, we know about the large amount of crime in Scarborough.
And that's why we
for
should have
over 18
mandatory, that's why we should have
18 years.
mandatory sentencing for serious crime.
No.
And that's why serious crime is in the riding, because we should be looking at the criminals, not the environment
No,
alone.
we should be
There are
looking
good
at the
people who
youth.
live in the riding.
We should be looking at
But
the
there's
youth and start curbing the path of the youth when they're young.
Young
But we
people
wait
do
until
not
they get
tend
older.
to crime because they're young.
Okay, let's let, John wants to jump in. Go ahead, John.
Well, mandatory things as a conservative pursuer is sort of like trying to catch the horse after it's out of your barn. You really need to address further issues, particularly the gang violence, and particularly the gang violence that did happen in Danzig a couple of years ago with the Galloway boys. It was interesting to me that when we passed that legislation back in the early 2000s, the police did actually round up the Malvern gang, the Galloway gang, and we had a relative stability. And that stability has actually led to some renewal of the community, particularly at the Morningside Lawrence area. I was having this interesting conversation with this woman on Rhoda Boulevard about the regentrification of the areas. And to my great surprise, I asked her, well, why is that happening? And she said to me that, well, we don't have to worry about the gangs anymore. And I thought, well, I was going to have an interesting correlation between what happened in Ottawa on the Justice Committee a few years ago and the actual results in the neighborhood. So,
Shootings are so drastically up in Toronto there, John, is it because,
well, they're actually, like, why are shootings up in Toronto? There's probably, for every shooting, there's at least 10 reasons. So it's kind of a strange question.
No, it's not. It's a very simple
So,
question.
so you can pass every law known to mankind, and you can start doing all kinds of drastic things to convicted criminals. It's actually not going to.
John, I'm going to ask John one question. John,
So let's let Laura jump in here. Go ahead, Laura.
Again, if you want to look at some of the root causes, we can look at poor housing planning. And we've segregated different income brackets from each other, and that is very prevalent in Scarborough Guildwood specifically. And you can see it in downtown region as well, the Regent Park area. And what we can do to solve that is provide affordable housing options where it's mixed housing for both market value, both market value as well as affordable housing prices. And when you bring people together in that manner, it lessens the inequality as well as increases the diversity in that area as well.
Okay, Kevin, go ahead.
I like that, John. John, you said that you spoke to this lady, and she told you about the regeneration of the right.
but you are the 18-year federal member of parliament, 6th-term member of parliament. Why is this citizen telling you about the regeneration of the riding? Should you not already know? For the people, and I am the independent voice to deal with the social decay. And for us to deal with the social decay, it has to be the end of the days for John McKay. And Kunkel, you ain't gonna replace
Mr.
him.
Clarke, I gotta tell you something. The choice is for the public, and there
And
are
the
three
public will
candidates
make
here,
it.
in addition to yourself, who will
But the
certainly
fact
be
is, I
So
have-
hold on, Kevin, let's let Chuck, go ahead.
Look, you're one of 5 candidates, Kevin. You may think you're the best.
No,
I think I am
I
too.
don't think so. The people are talking. I'm a 6-time mayoral candidate, an
That must say
8-time
something.
provincial candidate, a
That
3-time.
must say something.
It done
So-
right from being
So
a
hold on,
homeless man.
let's focus back, Kevin, let's focus back on the issue, which we're talking about the criminal justice system and whether it needs to be stricter, how do we need to reform the criminal justice
More
system
education.
to address some of the issues that we have at hand?
There are so many things that involve themselves in criminal justice. When I say that criminal justice, we deal with criminals, that's one aspect. There's community programs. Please, I do not dismiss the importance of community programs, working with people, getting them out of poverty, getting them proper jobs. I reiterate, I do agree with you, Mr. Clarke, that the incumbent has failed in that. I agree with you very vociferously that in 18 years we've seen this riding become a ghetto. And that's a sad commentary.
And Chuck, I got no doubt.
So hold on, John, go ahead, last comment on this point.
That is also not true. And if you persist in that view, I encourage you when you're door knocking to say to people, "Oh, this is a ghetto," because I've done a lot of door knocking in the last 18 years, and it is far from a ghetto. In fact, it's one of the finest places in all of the GTA to live. And if you as candidates wish to talk it down, you're welcome to that strategy that I think is utterly foolish, and it is not true. And it is not true.
So here's what we're going to do. We are going to move on to our next question. Good. Okay. Next question is about immigration. So Canada accepts more than 250,000 immigrants every year, the highest intake per capita in the world. The current government is focused on skilled migrants chosen for what they can contribute to the economy. Should we change our current approach to immigration? Kevin, you can start us off here.
Definitely, it is not about skilled immigrants. It's about the needs of humanity, those who are in need, those who are being persecuted, those who are in pain, suffering, and anguish, and those who are willing to contribute to the welfare of their fellow man. I am for opening the door for immigration, except let's not make the same mistake as the older Trudeau did. Let's have education with immigration and make sure we have the social policy to where these immigration don't end up in jail or end up in
That's
our
your time,
mental
Kevin.
health system.
Thank you. Let's go next to Chuck.
We're very proud of our record of immigration and don't take second fiddle to any other party in this matter. We've brought the highest number of immigrants to Canada, far greater than the Liberals. The Liberals had a head tax. The Liberals did horrific things to immigration to diminish the number of immigrants in Canada during your tenure when you were in government. We've increased immigration. Yes, we bring in skilled immigrants. But we also bring in lots of refugees, and we're very proud of our record on refugees.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, hold on there. Open discussion will commence shortly. Laura, you're
Sure. So my husband's family immigrated here in the 1970s from India. And when they came here, they worked hard, but they were able to get 2 decent paying jobs with pensions. Now when immigrants come here, newcomers come here, they're having to work 2, 3 jobs, 7 days a week just to afford a basic living apartment conditions. So the n.d.p is committed to strengthening the foreign credential programs because we are having several skilled workers come here, but they are ending up in low-wage paying jobs. And we also want to ensure that we protect citizenship.
Thank you. John.
Well, we do in our office immigration issues all day, every day. And if this is such a great record, I don't know why our caseload keeps on increasing. Family reunification is an absolute disaster. Processing times go up and up and up. Citizenship applications keep getting bumped and bumped and bumped. And the refugee attitude of this government is disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And to say and pretend that we are
Canadian nation of decent values after what this government has done with the refugee file is a fiction beyond imagination.
Thank you, John. Kathleen?
Well, my problem with the refugees, we're not really giving them a home, as they're just getting temporary citizenship. So it's not like they can look at Canada like this is their home. And I know what it feels like to be kind of out searching for a place to lay my roots down and be safe and know that I'm going to stay. I can't imagine how refugees must feel. No wonder there's so much crime, because they're not able to stick around.
Thank you, and the floor is open.
So what we have to say about immigration is that we have to invest more in humanity and look at the individual.
Our conservative government is more concerned about the financial benefit, and we do not know what the Liberal platform is, and the n.d.p is more concerned about throwing money at it. When it comes to immigration, I think we must look at the needs of humanity and look at us being more godly towards the needs of people. And that's what I will promote as an independent candidate in Scarborough.
Yes, the Liberals created a backlog for us to inherit of 830,000 immigrants proposed to come to this country. We have, in fact, I believe there was a right of landing fee, John. Can you give me the number? Was it $975 we imposed on new immigrants when you were the governing party? A fine on someone coming to this country? That's a wonderful thing. A landing fee? You talk about being good. What was the $975 then, John?
It was a fee, obviously.
A fee. So you imposed a fee on Canadians?
And tell me, Chuck, that your processing times are down. Tell
Yes,
me
they
that
are,
you're
actually.
receiving
Yours
more
was 64
refugees.
months for
Tell me
grandparents and
that
parents. They were
the
64
citizenship
months
time
long.
has shrunk. Well, Chuck, just spend one day in my office. One day. That's all you need to do. One day.
It's good to see you in your
Spend
office,
it in my
John.
office, and you will see the absolute truth on the ground of how this government has destroyed the immigration system, the citizenship system, and the refugee. I'm relieved about that, Kevin. I'm comforted by
I'm
that.
glad for your endorsement. You've done a good job, but not a great job. I'm here to
We
do
have
a
a
better job.
backlog for us of 108,000 parents and grandparents. That's what we inherited, John. That
And
was
you-
your
and you
record.
have
When you were in
tripled and
government,
quadrupled
when
it.
you were in government, you did nothing, John.
When you have tripled, quadrupled it, there
Tripled,
are
that's a lie, John.
endless
Are you sure
Pardon
you were
me.
ready when you
People
got here,
give
John?
up.
Endless.
People have given up on your government, Chuck.
No, John.
They have
They've
given
given
up.
The
on
last
both
figure said you get 10
government
people
and
in
the
the-
n.d.p. They're giving
Please,
up on the
John.
politicians. That's the
Please.
problem. People are sick and tired of the political crap. It's got to stop. It's time for people to independently choose their candidates by the
Okay,
merit
Kevin,
of the
thank you.
candidates.
Kathleen, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, Green Party policy saves our planet. I
Yes.
think that should be a top
And
issue.
Kevin Clarke is for green. God bless you.
I would just say that we've had backlogs from the Liberals and the Conservative government, and part of the issue here is that we need to create good paying jobs for immigrants. And, you know, it seems to be that the Conservative definition of jobs and jobs creation is just over broke. So we need to make sure that we stop giving corporate tax breaks to the wealthy and reinvest that into good paying jobs to stimulate the economy. So when immigrants come here, they can have a decent wage and living.
A lot of the people who are here right now are unemployed. If we give the good paying jobs to the immigrants, is there no jobs for the people who are here? Why don't we create a better social structure so that we can deal with the needs of humanity? Why don't we lower the taxes? Why don't we lower the cost of living? Why don't we give employment to our youth? Why don't we stop giving all these big pensions to politicians and all these big bonuses and all these big handouts to corporations? Why don't we start taking care of the people? And when we take care of the people, we can take care of all humanity. So you can say, let's give great paying jobs to the immigrants, but hey, there's a lot of Canadians
Well,
who
Kevin,
disagree.
actually, in our platform, we do have a commitment to increase the corporate tax rate from 15 to 17%. So
But
we
what
can
is that
Hold on,
reinvest that.
Kevin, let's let Laura.
So we can reinvest that into working family the community.
But that's where Thomas is lost, because it's not about the money, it's about the education. It's about the human interaction. It's about the training. It's about making sure we have the proper resources so we have these people can have opportunity. We just say, here's some money, go up there and do the job. If the guy don't know how to turn the drill on, you ain't going to be able to drill a hole, are you? So let's deal with education, and let's make sure we have a better standard of living for all people in the country.
Okay, thank you,
and when
Kevin.
we do that, we
Which
can
you can, which is why we're very proud that we have the apprenticeship program, which allows young people to secure employment and get jobs
and give training.
and give training.
I would agree with the conservative. The only problem why I can't support you, Chuck, is that I'm in the race. And I can't support Mr. Harvey. But you make a pretty good candidate, and I encourage conservative.
You know, we've sort of forayed into youth unemployment
I'd like to say
from immigration. You know, there are young immigrants that come into this country also looking for jobs, and you know, the loss of some well-paid manufacturing jobs has been keenly felt in Scarborough, and the need for more secure employment is a major issue in times of economic uncertainty. Youth unemployment in particular is a concern. It stands at 18% for those aged 15 to 24. Politicians often talk about how they will create jobs. We've heard about this. But aside from increasing the number of public servants, what can governments actually do that will increase the private sector workforce? John, you can begin. Sorry, John.
Yeah. This John, yeah.
Right.
The same.
Mr. Trudeau announced an infrastructure plan, both green and social infrastructure, and it's a $60 billion plan over 10 years. It is substantially means to address the very issue that you've raised, because jobs just don't grow on trees. So there has to be a stimulative effect from the federal government, and that means that for the short term we're going to run deficits, and so that the economy will start moving again, instead of being the way it is currently, which is flatline. And so that it will be our major stimulus, job stimulus program.
Okay, thank you, John. Kathleen?
I think we should implement the carbon taxes, and you can check out the Green Marshal on Facebook.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Well, one thing I look to do to create more opportunity for youth is I look for a federal program that once you're between the age of 14 and 17 years old, if parents are receiving child bonus off you, those individuals will be guaranteed an income. So the parents must pay their children a guaranteed wages. So if they want to go out there and look for employment or volunteer, that they're not being hindered because they have a deadbeat parent or because their parents are spending their money on their frills and on their drugs. I think between 14 years old and 17 years old, youth are the most vulnerable for them to be influenced by others, so we must give them greater opportunities.
Thank you. And Chuck?
I've already reiterated the importance of the apprenticeship program. We are going to be losing the vast majority of our professional tradespeople in the next 20 years. And we need to find people to work well-paid trades jobs. There's vacancies. We need to find young people to fill them. We need to train them. In addition to that, we also need to allow small and medium business to have less taxes. And we believe in that very strongly. That's why the payroll tax is being diminished by this government. Because we feel that, among other things, John, because we feel, sorry.
Okay, no problem. We'll get into the discussion. No problem. Laura?
So part of the n.d.p's plan is to increase revenue and end oil subsidies, which has been in tune to the billions. And I've been talking to a lot of voters, particularly in the residents and in Scarborough Guildwood, and they are excited about the n.d.p plan to invest in the green economy, which Canada is lagging behind in. And this is a huge growth opportunity that can bring Canada forward and into a modern and more sustainable ecological plan.
Okay, thank you. It's time to open it up for discussion now.
Well, Chuck said that lower payroll tax, et cetera, except in order to get to their bogus balanced budget, they mugged the EI fund for multiple billion jobs.
Kevin, hold on, please.
And mugged it to a considerable extent in the order of billions of dollars. So it's kind of hard to argue that while we're going to lower EI premiums, which are essentially payroll taxes, and simultaneously
say that we're going to use that money for youth stimulus. So it's one or the other, Chuck. It is a means of balancing a budget at all costs in order to be able to have a political statement during an election year. It seems that Mr. Harper is only interested in balancing budgets in an election year. All the rest of the time, he just runs deficits. So it would be nice if your government could line up monetary and fiscal policy so that the monetary policy, which is stimulus, goes with a fiscal policy, which should also be stimulus. And the way in which you do that is you run modest deficits for periods of time where the economy is actually flat. So your entire philosophy and approach to how to get this economy off its flatline status is wrong.
Go ahead, Chuck. Let's let Chuck respond to that, because that was a direct attack.
I wouldn't call it an attack. I thought it was an attempt at an attack, John, because you seem to forget where the unemployment insurance benefits were reversed by your government into general revenues, and we were very lucky we were criminally charged as individuals. Oh, for goodness
Don't
sakes.
say silly things like that.
Oh, please don't be so patronizing, John.
Hold on a second. We'll let Chuck
Criminal charges.
What we're hearing from Chuck here and what we're hearing from John, and then the n.d.p always put in their 2 cents worth. What we're hearing about the economy, we're hearing about Harper, we're hearing about Trudeau, Montclair, but the issue we were talking about was youth employment. So how do we stimulate and give youth greater opportunity? And I am here to give youth greater opportunity. We're not here to be concerned about the economy, because if these young people don't have an opportunity when they're young, by the time they get older, they don't get to utilize the economy, so they end up getting some alleyway, or they end up locked up in jail for a long period of time. Okay, I'm here to address the issue of youth employment.
More useful on the panel here. I've recently graduated in the last 10 years. I've been continuing student loans. I've built a career in a modern workforce. And one of the bills that I'm really proud of with the n.d.p is urban workers strategy. And it looks at the patterns of a modern workforce. And I know my colleagues and peers, people coming into the workforce, that they have contract, part-time work. Here in Toronto, over 50% of jobs are part-time precarious work. So Andrew has built looks at ways to support different types of employment, getting them, when people on contract work, essential benefits, looking at how they can access EI, both the Liberal and Conservative governments have raised the balance budgets in previous years, how they can access that to support sustain themselves in this modern economy. And the second thing that I want to talk about is the one thing that I never really understood about the Liberal hand is that if you're not going to, I know, but you interrupted previously and didn't give me a chance to finish. So yeah. So I would love a chance just to finish quickly here. Thank you so much, Kevin. Yep, I will make it quick. One thing I never really understood about the Liberal plan is that if you're not going to increase your tax revenue and you're going to run deficits, somewhere down the line, that money is going to have to be repaid, and that's going to have to be cut. That means cut somewhere down the line to be repaid, and that's going to be on the backs of generations to come, economic debt as well as social debt. So certainly the n.d.p is going to bring more revenue, but we're also going to invest that into things that will be in Canada.
Let's just talk about promises that all parties made. John, the promise is 79 billion. The promise is 27 billion. And you're right, some of them have to go to heaven. And that's moving the next generation. So fiscal responsibility is a very happy term, a very important one. John, whatever you say, this government has taken us to the worst economy, world economy. John, back.
A lot of, like at least 51 essential services.
You tell it, girl. You know that. So you guys are politicians. You guys don't care about the people.
Yeah.
You guys don't independently
Okay,
say, I'm going to serve
mobility
you.
devices.
Yeah, that's Catherine, naturally. She's worthy to hear from.
mobility devices have been cut for the disabled and the seniors under Harper. So you talk about creating more jobs. We have jobs. We just have to bring them back.
Exactly.
Hey, John? Well, when we took over in '93, we took over from a conservative government that run deficits. We were on the verge of being a third world status according to the New York Times. Kevin? Kevin? Kevin?
Let John finish. Right, Kevin?
You should have finished 22
Yeah,
years
no.
ago. 1993, when you were here in 2015.
If I had a mute button, Kevin, I would use it right now.
I know, but no,
Okay. Okay. You vote for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, 2 votes so far? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, Chuck, I won't vote.
Okay, Kevin, let's get back on track here. Come on.
Can I borrow that mute button? So we took over a faltering economy and then got it back in shape and 10 surpluses in a row. We were defeated in 2006 when we handed off a $13 billion surplus, which was essentially the last surplus that this government's ever run. We got through and so Mr. Harper cumulatively has run about $150, $160 billion worth of deficits, and he's squeezed back into surplus by the narrowest of margins by essentially selling off the furniture in order to be able to get there. Keynesian economics, for want of a better term, it uses stimulus when times are bad. Times are flat. We're in a technical recession right now. Unemployment is quite deep. We have really serious problems in Alberta. So the Bank of Canada has actually recognized that. And so they will introduce the concept of that is stimulus. The government of Canada, for whatever bizarre reason it's chosen, is to go anti-stimulus. And therefore you have monetary policy and fiscal policy fighting with each other. And the consequence of that is that we have higher unemployment than necessary. The consequence of that consequence is that youth unemployment is far higher than necessary. So these things are important, and this is the big lever that the government of Canada has, both monetary policy and fiscal policy. And in our view, the fiscal policy of this government has been atrocious, running deficit after deficit after deficit, destabilizing the fiscal framework year after year after year because of a lot of stupid decisions which are entirely politically motivated.
John, are you calling the conservative stupid or the government? You know the difference between the conservative, liberal, New Democrat and the government? A government is a service of coming together of all people. Liberal, conservative, New Democrat, it's like 3 different gangs. You go up there and you fight a war. When it's over, the ones who are surviving, those are the ones that become the government.
Kevin, we have to get back on track.
Yes, so let's work together as a government. Like, we got to get the gangs out of government and the politics from the liberal, conservative.
We heard that. We heard that from you. So Chuck, go ahead.
So if we were in a technical recession, John, does that mean that the $9 billion in expenditures are just technical and the young people are not going to have to repay that money one day? Of course not. No, the books about
I don't argue that the position put forward by Mr. Trudeau is that we are going to run deficit. That's a given. We've decided to do that in part because we need an infrastructure plan, we need a green plan, and we need social plan. We've divided the $60 billion divided into 3 parts over 10 years. Kevin, thank you. Kevin,
You gotta respect it. You're also talking a lot, so let's let the... Remember that mute button? You were good the last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, the mute button, right. So, Mr. Trudeau has promised that there will be deficits. So we do distinguish ourselves from both parties. We want to go to bogus balance. And the reason that we do it is that this is an economy in need of stimulus. And so in order to get to stimulus, you actually have to run deficits for the next number of years.
Okay. So we're gonna let Laura go ahead. Go ahead, Laura.
One of the false pretense that only way to get stimulus is to run a deficit tax breaks to those levies, then we could actually bring in new revenue. The n.d.p is the only party that's committed to doing that by increasing the corporate tax rates 15 to 17%, which is still a very competitive rate and lower than the average during the conservative time, far lower too than our American counterparts. We're going to end the oil subsidies, and we're going to close CEO tax loopholes. And those are some of the ways the n.d.p is going to bring in revenue so we can invest in families to make life more affordable.
Yeah, I want to talk a little more about investments, and especially in our own city. And many Torontonians feel that urban infrastructure is not keeping pace with this growth, that the GTA has seen it as the fastest growing region of the province. So we face increasing traffic congestion, we see crumbling expressways and overtaxed utilities. Everyone agrees we need a massive infrastructure renewal program. Where will we find the money for this essential work? How will your party approach this crucial issue? Laura, we'll begin with you for 30 seconds.
So the n.d.p has a fully costed, balanced approach to investing specifically into Toronto infrastructure and transit. 12.9 billion for Toronto specifically, with 7.7 billion going to transit. I'm a transit rider myself. I ride the 54 Lawrence bus. The road conditions are in shambles. It's like riding a TTC bus on a dirt road. And I can tell you, the very wealthy people in this country had to ride those buses every day. Those roads would be fixed. So, like I said, the n.d.p. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trudeau has proposed a $60 billion deficit divided into three categories: public transit, green, and social, primarily social housing. And over those 10 years, we are going to address specific issues that, as they are presented by municipalities. Hopefully, SDM back in